If you have been fussing around trying to get a sourdough starter going and it just won't rise, it won't bubble, it won't double, okay, come hang out. Let's bake together. I'm going to show you there's 3 things that you need to do on those first 3 days of starting a brand new starter. And it's really important that you do these 3 things. So let me show you exactly what to do so that you can get your starter growing and happy, so that soon you will be making pillowy bowlfuls of sourdough dough and you're going to be baking the most beautiful bread. But it all starts with those first 3 days. So come on, let's go do it, because in no time you're going to have your own starter and be ready to bake. My first tip for you is, before you start, you absolutely have to have a scale. I know it seems like an unnecessary gadget, but without the scale, you're not going to be able to know if you are doing the exact same amounts of each water and flour. And it's very important that you use the same amount in grams, not the same amount like half a cup, half a cup. It needs to be the same amount in grams. So get a scale. Next, I want you to get fresh bread flour. I know you want to just go and use the thing that's in your cupboard, but it really does make a difference when you're using fresh flour. And you want to use bread flour because bread flour is the easiest kind of flour for that wild yeast to start to munch on. And that's what we're trying to capture. The next thing I want you to notice is we are going to do very small amounts of both water and flour. We're only going to do 25 grams of water. And you can use the water straight from your tap. You want it to be about room temperature. So when you feel it, it just feels warm to the touch. If you don't like your water, you don't think it tastes good, or you think it has a really strong chlorine flavor, go ahead and get filtered water and use that. Once your water is in your jar, tear your scale out. I want you to do this just as a practice, because the more that you get used to tearing your scale out in between ingredients, the easier it will be when you get to the point that you're mixing up recipes for dough. Then you're going to add 25 grams of that bread flour. Use a fork and mix that up. Now you can see I'm using a pint size wide mouth jar. I prefer these wide mouth jars because it's much easier to work with. It's much easier to stir the ingredients together. And I just have a really simple BPA-free plastic lid. I don't have to worry about the lid falling off and breaking. There's very fancy sourdough jars that you can get. This is the one that works for me. But the trick right now is we do not want that lid to be on tight. We want the lid to be loose. Like you could almost just take it straight off. Don't screw it down tight. When you screw the lid down tight, it stops the natural wild yeast that's in your environment from getting into the jar, and we want it to get into that jar. The other thing is, I want you to think about the spot in your kitchen that is the warmest. That's where we want this jar to sit, and it is going to sit there for 3 days. You're not going to do anything with it. And this is the key. Lots of people tell me that they can't get their sourdough starter to actually start to bubble up, to start to rise. And it's because they started fussing around with it too early. The thing that's happening in these first 3 days is that water and that flour are becoming a welcoming area for all of the wild yeast that's in your environment. It's in the air, and we want that water and flour to rest there and not get disturbed so that wild yeast can find it and start to munch on it and start to get stronger. Now, here's what it looks like on the second day. Not too much is happening. You can see in there, like there's a little bit of bubbles. This is what yours should be doing too. There should be a very, very slight amount of bubbles in it. And if your environment is around 65-ish degrees, that's a really good temperature for it, and you're keeping that lid on very loosely, then the wild yeast will find that flour and that water, and they're going to begin to grow stronger. And here is what it's going to look like on day 3. Look at that. It's fluffed up. There's bubbles in it. It's already starting to rise. Now it's at the point that we want to do a feeding with it each day. It's only going to take you about 5 minutes. You can choose a time of day that works best for you. You're only going to feed it 1 time a day, and it's going to rest for the rest of the time, and you're going to feed it very small amounts. We have a whole video that dives all the way into this. It walks you through what you're going to do each day, click down into the description below. You'll be able to head over to that video. We'll also link it at the end of this one as well. And pretty soon you are going to be able to feed big batches of starter just like this, so that you can mix up your own dough. You're going to be able to make your own bread. You're going to be able to use that starter whenever you want. Here's the thing to remember. For the next 11 days, you need to spend 5 minutes with your sourdough starter, feeding it and getting it revived each day. Then your sourdough starter is actually going to be able to live in the fridge, and you'll take it out and take portions of it out whenever you want to bake, but you won't have to feed it every day. This is the only time in your sourdough starter's life that you are going to have to pay attention to it every day. So make sure you have 11 days in a row that you can feed the starter. Click on over to the next video. It'll show you exactly how to do it. We're so glad that you're here in the kitchen with us. We love cheering you on. We're here to take the mystery out of sourdough, to make it easy for the everyday baker, because what we know is the more delicious bread that we bake, the easier it is to fill our table. And when our table is full, that is just when the joy of life is found. I have a full playlist of sourdough goodness to share with you. We also do tons of gardening. So come hang out with us. We're so glad you're here at the table. And yes, we even have a tutorial on how to make these super cute bread bags. You are going to be the favorite neighbor, delivering fresh bread in the cutest bags.